Sam Lotu-liga from National, Dr David Clark, MP for Labour, David Clendon, MP for the Green Party, Tracey Martin, MP for New Zealand First, and we have Dr Bill Kirkley, who is from the School of Management, Massey University, and also Max Whitehead, who is CEO of Small Business Voice. Give them all a round of applause.
My firm belief is that small business owners are the lifeblood of our economy. 97% of businesses, of course, in New Zealand are small businesses, less than 20 or less employees. 584,000 people are employed in these types of businesses, and small businesses contribute 28% of our GDP, so you are important.
So one of our policies this election is to have 300 million per annum by the end of our first term spent on government procurement for small business. And the other big thing that I think we'll do is tax simplification. It's been done overseas.
The SME sector is alive and well, albeit often invisible from a Wellington point of view, unfortunately. That the government should purchase locally, all other things considered, where it's reasonable to do so. The Greens would invest an extra $1 billion over the first 3 years in government in expanding the government's R&D contribution. We have a low skills economy, a low wage economy, a low productivity economy. We would invest much more in education and vocational training.
We need to deliver long-term prosperity, and we need to address this from the SMEs. Peterson Institute in Washington has assessed that the New Zealand dollar is the most overvalued exchange rate of the 34 that it monitors. So we want to create a band in which the dollar will sit, and therefore you as businesses will be able to know this is the highest this dollar is going to go.
I'm not a politician. I'm on your side. I interact with small businesses every single day. I feel your pain. I have my own small business. They're very good on promises, as you would expect, coming into an election, but very little on detail. I think I'm going to propose that we start the small business party at the next election. The Greens, for example, have an interesting notion around business clustering, which is something that I would support. I think that we, in small business in New Zealand, would be to actually cluster around back office services.
Creating a SME political party, I think, is a fantastic idea. We're battling hard here for years to try to get some attention from politicians. Why are we the ones that have never seen in Wellington? And it's because we don't protest. We don't moan. We don't whinge. We get on with our job. And that's why we're the hard-working battlers, the Kiwi battlers of our society that are forgotten. And we just haven't got time. This room should be packed, absolutely brimming over. But do you know why it's not? Most of those people are back there, they see more priority in getting their job done. And that's what SMEs are all about. We're not asking for big handouts. What we're asking for is an ability to get our prosperity going. I want you to focus on employment law. When the health and safety laws come out, tax compliance, simplification, red tape, get rid of it. And at also at council level, the RMA is absolutely a drain on us small businesses. The minimum wage, I'm afraid you're going to lose, a lot of people are going to be unemployed with the minimum wage. We need to actually look at that. I think one of you here actually helped out with the Mondayising of public holidays. That actually imposed a lot of cost on us small businesses. We had to pay for that. Good for the people. Yeah, we all love a holiday, but the reality is it costs more business. We have to pay the people for that. We're seeing our whole society becoming contractors. People, employers, and people in this room are guilty of it, and so am I. Why? Because the employment laws are too hard. That's why SMEs are growing, because we're all becoming a nation of contractors. We need some attention, guys. We want you to hear about us. You've put your policy out, so you're transparent now. The reality is you've forgotten us.
Well, I've already talked about tax simplification. That will save, for sole traders, 10 to 15% of their resource. Cutting red tape.
Well, clearly the RMA is something that needs reform. I hear it time and time again talking to small businesses.
Sam, you've had 6 years of doing that. Why hasn't anything happened?
Well, as I said, we've actually done some things around the RMA.
We think that as a business person, you should have one point of contact with a government representative.
David, talking about bureaucracy, if you're going to create another layer for us, like having one interface is saving time, but you're actually causing another layer which may delay things and actually be more costs.
But New Zealand First is not going to dictate to you how to actually create a better environment for your business. New Zealand First wants to interface with you to create a better environment for your business.
There is a small business development group currently in operation that interfaces with government business.
The difficulty with that whole thing is that there's nothing been generated from that in years and years when Morris Williamson and Mr. Banks have been in charge of it. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked.
I think the small business minister should be the busiest man in Parliament, and frankly, he's not.
What was the single biggest impact you made to the benefit of helping small businesses last year?
But we've reformed the Commerce Act and the Consumer Affairs legislation around consumer law reform. The thing that we haven't done, and I'll come back to it again and again, RMA, we really need to reform that.
It's an unlevel playing field for you guys right now. You are competing against people who don't pay tax.
David, in terms of your policies, the capital gains tax is rather frightening for us SMEs.
I would love to.
And capital gains on us selling our businesses. Most of us SME owners are getting older. We want to move on. And some of us are relying on it as superannuation.
For us, we're in the construction business, so we have a choice whether we employ someone to help us or whether we get a contractor.
Yeah.
And for us, with our compliance costs, OSH, wages, all those sorts of things, and employment contracts, for people like us who are only employing 2 or 3 people, it's a massive gain that we have to have in both knowledge, expertise, and it's a massive exposure. I just go and hire a contractor.
Yeah.
In general, for small businesses, many small businesses will do better out of a minimum wage increase because, relatively, in the marketplace, the people who pay the lowest wages are the really big corporates.
I must be speaking to different employers than you in Maunga Kirkley, because they are telling me there is no way to, why not make it $5 extra? Make the wages really high. The reason is it's basic economics. You're going to get unemployment.
While you're going to increase costs to business operations, etc., and risk that higher unemployment because you're going to force 459,000 businesses to reconsider the appointment that they would have made if the wages had remained at the same level.
We won't impose rapid rises in the minimum wage because we believe that it needs to be sustainable over time because businesses will have to adjust.
And the fact is, if business gets tight, we go to our accountants and say, we're struggling here, what do we do? And the accountants, and this room's full of them, would say to you, get rid of some overheads. And that's getting rid of staff. And that means that we can actually survive the tough times.
Of government looking to create an economic policy at absolutely no cost to themselves and transferring 100% of the risk to the business owner. Thank you very much, but we're simply not interested.
Because New Zealand First has a policy of lifting the minimum wage to $17 an hour. So this is a circular conversation about the standard of living of our nation and where do we want to go with it.
And with the last increase, 3% of my businesses shut their door. So that is not just an increase in wages for a small group. That was about 600 people no longer had a job or a business that they went to work in. You are talking about their livelihoods. You are talking about their homes, because when they shut their door, they lose their homes, they lose their income, they lose everything.
The current government has an unlevel playing field that is tilted towards large businesses, and that is why for the last 4 years running more small businesses in New Zealand have been destroyed than created.
And what we're saying is we know we have to keep them. Good staff are damn important to us, and that's why you've been complimenting us for not paying the minimum wage. But let us make those decisions, not you guys.
My question is around the whole idea of the biggest cost facing businesses in Auckland is the congestion of our traffic system, transport system in Auckland, which is dysfunctional, as we all know.
A couple of things that were suggested that would be interested in pursuing a conversation around was actually congestion taxes, and secondly, a bedroom tax.
The Greens would like a good network of walkways, cycleways. Any and every visitor to Auckland who's ever come in here with half a clue has looked around and said, sort out your transport system. That is an enormous cost to doing business in this city.
Cycleways for recreational cyclists is not actually going to solve the traffic problems.
Question. We are working with Auckland Council. We've sat down with the Mayor and the Council on options around public transport. The inner city loop, we're committed to doing it, but in the right timetable, at the right time when it can be funded.
Can someone make a decision on a second harbour crossing? It's like every decade it just keeps getting reopened for more discussions. I don't care what decision it is, whether it's trains or bikes or cars. Can someone just make a decision and build the damn thing?
The bridge is not the problem, it's the feed on fees. The bridge flows freely.
The main point of a capital gains tax is that it directs money away from the speculative housing sector into the productive economy, because money is not flowing towards our productive businesses. You guys are the lifeblood of our economy, and if we don't support you and we create loopholes to send money elsewhere, New Zealand suffers as a whole.
No, he's missed the point, Mr. Chair, because the point is you're going to put a capital gains tax on us selling our businesses.
Yes. So we've got to carve out, particularly for those who are over 55, who already have built up a business, recognising that part of that plan will have been for a savings. When they sell it, the first $250,000 of profit is exempt from the tax. After that, you pay 15%.
Just get this straight. The lowest tax you will ever pay is 0, not 15. You know, the evidence from Australia when they imposed the capital gains taxes, it hasn't made a slightest bit of difference. Sydney and the Melbourne property markets are worse than Auckland. Why would you invest in your own business, build up your own business, to have it taxed 15%? You've been taxed during the course of your business, and then at the end of it, they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna." It's a punitive tax. There's nothing there that actually promotes people in order for them to invest in businesses.
SMEs pay 28% tax. Maori authorities pay only 19.5%. Is this fair?
I can see we're drawing to an end. Can I just comment that it's been really good to have this conversation, because it's actually bloody hard to get in front of audiences to have the detailed conversation. I spent a year working on our small business policy, no media coverage, and here we're actually having a good discussion about it. It's very frustrating actually getting in front of audiences and getting the opportunity to have these kinds of lively discussions, because this really matters. So thanks to all of you for coming, and thanks for having us here. We disagree on some stuff and we agree on some stuff. It's bloody good to be having the discussion.
That's very good. The good news is you've still got another 15 minutes. Bill, do you want to make any comments?
He's finished.
Bill, do you want to make any comments? No. One of the questions here is, will you reduce company tax? If not, why not?
We don't have a proposal to reduce company tax.
Well, I'm not going to make policy on the hoof here, but
introduce a lower 20% business tax rate for exporters.
What can you do to cut the red tape and make it easier for me to run my business?
Actually a matter of having people go through and review the legislation and getting suggestions from businesses.
We're trying to give you one point of contact with government agencies, and they're working together to bring that about. We've announced a rules reduction task force.
I almost wonder if, in terms of some of the health and safety stuff, we've almost overshot the mark a bit. The issue of scaffolding has come up. There was a chap berating us in a meeting in Northland. It cost them over $1,500 to put 3 new sheets of roofing on an implement shed, because the guy was obliged to scaffold the whole thing to throw up a few sheets of iron. Construction costs, I'm told, are something like 40% of that conceivably is compliance cost, and maybe we've gone a bit too far with that. So
the ministers are turning around and saying, well, we're not going to do anything until you guys come to us. There's an expectation from government that you're all going to, crowd in the doors of Parliament, and but there needs to be a structure in place that voice is heard, and that it is more meaningfully translated into policy.
I'm saying have a lobby group, but if I could sit down with someone who could say, here are 100 or 80, of our small businesses that are having this issue we're dealing with.
We would be open to that.
Yeah.
Small business voice would be very open.
If you give us an invitation, we will come. Full day like this, and then having key messages that you want us to take away.
If you guys want to come, we'll bring it together. It's going to happen then.
Yeah.
If there are 2 things that you could change, to take up for us to take away, what would they be?
It's the employment laws, and I think they actually really do cost us.
I'm not seeing a lot of incentive to promote and to actually grow the businesses.
Thinking it's not our job to go pandering to Wellington with our complaints.
You don't want me to push New Zealand First through the door, do you?
Have a stronger voice for small business in government. Currently, small business is a 3rd-tier agency in the Ministry of Business and the Environment, Ministry of Business, and it's small. And actually, overseas, that's not the case. There is much better representation for small business within government, and I think that man's absolutely right.
Propose that we start the small business at the next election.
Creating a SME political party, I think, is a fantastic idea.